Hey all, Eric here, Accurate Appraisal Partners. Working on some video series to help everybody kind of understand the appraisal industry and the lending industry, and more actually how it's applicable to you, the borrower, the buyer, seller maybe. So I'm going to try to just explain the basics of what's going on here so you have a better understanding when you're going to go make some sort of a mortgage transaction or sell your home. So today we're going to talk about manufactured homes. This one's a tough one because there's so many misnomers and misconceptions about manufactured homes. Are they personal property? Are they real property? I purged the title, now it's a modular. I purged the title, now it's a house. There's all kinds of misconceptions. So I'm going to hopefully bring some light on this and explain what's going on, and then also explain just some facts. This might be a couple part series, so we'll see how far we get. I don't want to get much over, a 10-minute video. So anyway, let's get started here. Manufactured home. Well, first, you can look at all my childish drawings here, and they'll make sense in a minute. But a manufactured home, it's hard to see, but is basically, it's a home built in a factory on a metal chassis that is delivered to your home via truck. It's pulled in by a big semi, whether it be a single wide, double wide, and then it's placed. The chassis remains on the home. So when they place the home, they're going to lift it up with a crane. Sometimes they'll just drive it into the site. Most of the time it's with a crane, and then they'll block it or set it on the foundation. Then in the day they didn't do it. Now it's pretty much standard and mandatory, but they remove the axles and cut off the tow hitch. That's basically a manufactured home. Now, before June 15th, 1976, manufactured homes were still built. I mean, there's manufactured homes back in the 60s, but before this date, they were not built to HUD codes. This is a trigger right here, not the millennial trigger, but this is a warning that if it was June 15th, 76 or earlier, then most banks won't loan on it, because at this date, this is when the manufactured home industry started having to build the homes to HUD codes. So then that's when Fannie Mae, USDA, USDA, I don't know how they do manufactured homes. They're lending on them, but they have different guidelines. But Fannie Mae, FHA, VA, this is when they started deciding they're going to lend on manufactured homes. For the critics, yes, Fannie Mae quit lending on manufactured homes after 2007 or 8 for a while because of the mortgage crash, and there was a lot of fraud going on in manufactured homes. That's a whole nother topic. But as of today, local banks, big banks, secondary market, FHA, VA, they will lend on manufactured homes if they're after 1976, June 15th, 1976. So that's the basics. You got a home that's built in a factory on a metal chassis. It's lifted onto your foundation or driven into place and set and leveled on the metal chassis. In order for it to be eligible for financing, unless it's like a local bank or a credit union, the tow hitch and the wheels and axles have to be removed. Then it's placed and permanently attached. So what are we looking for with a manufactured home, or what do I look for? So when I come out, there's a couple different things I look for. One is called the HUD tags. These are on the rear halves. So if your tongue's here, the HUD tags are on the rear halves of your home. Most of the time they're on the very back. Sometimes they will be on the rear corner, but they're called HUD tags. And that's, as I explain it, it's basically like the license plates for your home. Because when your manufactured home comes in, it'll come with a title. Sometimes if a lending institution does the construction loan, they'll purge the title when it's placed and you might not ever see it. But all manufactured homes, not modulars, but manufactured homes come with a title, and you'll have these HUD tags. If it's a single wide, there'd just be one tag. Double wide, 2 tags. If it was a triple wide, there'd be a tag in the center. Each half has to have a tag. Now, I didn't know this until a year or two ago, but the tags don't have to have corresponding numbers, but you do have to have tags, and then we'll get into this in a second, but the HUD cert has to match the numbers on the tag. So on the tag, it's going to be on the rear halves. It always is, unless somebody pulled it off or put new siding or stucco or maybe built a garage on the rear. There's tags. There's no argument. This is just fact. Things can happen to the tags, but it's fact. If it's a manufactured home, there's tags. especially, and it's got to be after 1976. If it was before 1976, there's no tags, and then you're in trouble. On the tag, and I know you probably can't read this writing, but there's going to be 3 letters. So it's going to be like the state it's made in, COL for Colorado, ARZ for Arizona, NMX for New Mexico. And then there's a couple like NTA and PFS or PSF, but there's going to be 3 letters, and then they're going to have a 6-digit, and it's all going to be numbers, numerical 6 digits. So this one's just COL for Colorado, and then I just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's your HUD tag. And if it's a double wide, it'd be like COL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then COL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, or 5, 7. Most of the time. They don't have to correspond, but on the HUD certificate, they gotta match. So HUD tags are on the rear. This is essentially your license plates. Don't take off your license plates. Even if your title's purged, keep the HUD tags on, because this is an identifier. When we go to do the appraisal, the lenders want us to show pictures of these, so that way they can also verify, that this is a manufactured home and it is after 1976. Because believe it or not, we have to use a different form for manufactured homes, and there's a lot of lending institutions or lending packages that won't work for manufactured homes, even if the title's purged, that will not work for manufactured homes. That it will for a modular or stick built. So I'm getting tongue tied. We'll get into that in a minute. So then the next thing we're looking for inside the house, like this little picture of the U.S. I draw like a kindergartner. It always looks better on a computer screen when I'm done doing it. Inside the house, you're going to have what's called a HUD certificate. And the certificate, it corresponds with the HUD tags. The HUD cert is basically like your registration. Like if you had a car, it's going to have the VIN, not necessarily the weight. HUD certs, they'll have who made it, who's the manufacturer. They'll have the date of manufacturer. They'll have the VIN number. They'll have the HUD number, and then they'll have the model number. A lot of times the model number's in the VIN number, and sometimes the model number is just like 3 or 4 digits. It gets really difficult to figure out the models, but that's a whole different story. So this certificate, it's 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, just a standard letter size paper, and it's going to be 90% of the time it's under the kitchen sink. It can be in any of the kitchen cabinets. It's truly a Where's Waldo game, and people think I'm really weird when I start looking around their house. Utility room cabinet, sometimes inside the utility room door, like if there's a door covering the heater or hot water heater. Most of the time it's a cabinet, but I've seen them indoors. And then it could be in one of the bedroom closets. Usually it's the master bedroom closet. But you just got to search. It's a Where's Waldo game. And people don't believe me when I'm like, oh, I got to find it. And then they get kind of weirded out. And then sure enough, it's there. And they've owned the home for 20 years and never knew it. And sometimes if a home's been totally remodeled, repainted, maybe the previous owner didn't like the way the piece of paper was starting to fall off the wall, so they just ripped it off, then it creates issues. There's fixes, but the HUD certificate. So if you have a HUD certificate and a HUD tag, it's a manufactured home. There's no way around it. You're not ever going to change it. You can change what it's considered, personal property or real property, but that's a manufactured home. So we'll recap, and then I think I'm going to call that the end of this video, and then we'll make it another part series about financing and different factors and title purges and stuff. So manufactured home, built in a factory, on a steel chassis, comes in on wheels, towed by a truck. It'll either be driven to its location and parked, and then it'll be jacked up and leveled, or it'll have a stem wall foundation with runners underneath, and it'll be hoisted into place and then married like a double wide, and then it'll be blocked and leveled underneath. It's going to have HUD tags. HUD tags are going to be on the rear halves, or the rear if it's a single wide, or thirds if it's a double or triple wide. The HUD tags are going to start with a three-letter sequence, and then they're going to have 6 digits or 6 numbers following it. There will be a HUD cert. That's going to describe everything we need to know about the home. That's going to be under the kitchen sink, in some of the kitchen cabinets, utility room cabinet, door, or closets, most likely master bedroom, but there's no standardization, so it just is what it is. Built after June 15th of 1976. Those are the key things to know. Then we'll get into, is it personal property? Is it real property? How do lenders look at manufactured homes? And then we're going to go into the difference between manufactured versus modular. That's another misconception. Maybe we can tie that up in one more video, but I don't know. So anyway, I hope this helps. If appraiser calls and has a manufactured home and starts saying, well, I might need to look in your closet, don't freak out. He doesn't care what kind of weird stuff you got in your closet. He's just trying to find that. So I always ask beforehand. I'm like, hey, there's this piece of paper. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I know where that is. And some people think I'm on crack. I've even had people get upset about it. So I'm just like, hey, okay, I won't look for it. And then I just tell the bank. And then, if you want the money, you're going to find the paper or you're going to jump through the hoops. That's the basics. Anyway, I hope this helps on manufactured homes. We'll make it a 2-part series. So I'll leave this up and then we'll go from there on part 2 next week, hopefully. All right, Eric, Accurate Appraisal Partners. Thanks and have a good day.